The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
That's what like us too. I guess we do back to schools and conference. We're looking forward to taking a trip, after game last week, get back on the field, get ready to play. Our kids had a good day, energetic yesterday, so we're looking forward to playing on the road.
You look at Mars Hill and you think about Tim Clifton. Normally I guess it still is. You're going to face some madness offensively. He's the only guy in the country that I know of that runs a jet sweep to the tight end, but when you've got a guy like Ty Snelson to do that with, it kind of makes sense. How do you have to prepare for some trickeration, some oddity, and yet an offense that's going to go two tight ends and try to just cram the ball down your throat?
Snelson's a good player and Tim's a good coach, so Tim's creative enough to find a way to get the ball in the hand of one of his better players. And he's always kind of, even playing this league, he's always been a guy that's always worked to be creative and do different stuff. Both run game, pass game, you never really know what you're going to get when you go out there, but Tim does a good job.
You have to go against one of the best running backs in the league, in Jervon Newton. How's he similar? How's he different from a Stewart at Limestone, a McGee at Lenore-Ryan?
I think the big thing you see is they going back to doing a lot of stuff with him that they did with Randolph when they had Randolph there. They're very similar. Kid's got really good speed, sees the hole well. They do a good job of blocking up front, creating gaps, and he does a good job of finding them and exploiting them once he sees them.
Defensively, first shutout in 6 years. Is that the culmination of growth of this unit through the course of the season?
It is. I think, those guys defensively have really worked. And, you saw kind of spurts and, still looking for that consistency. But, I think it's an accumulation of really, everything kind of coming together. We really, were able to kind of force Erskine to have to take long fields. They only had one short field. We took care of the football, then put those guys in a bind. And so, a lot of times when, things come out one way or another, it's really a team effort.
How do you build on success looking for back-to-back wins for the first time this season?
I think the biggest thing is, like we talked about all year, look, it's just hunting consistency, to where you go, you're playing a good football team this week. The biggest thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to go beat yourself. Like, we have to go take care of the football. Like, we've got to get off the bus ready to play. Like, we've got to make sure that we don't give up big plays, defensively. And in the kicking game, we've got to find a way to make plays like we did last week to get short fields.
You've had more 60-minute games in three phases this year, but certainly last year's Mars Hill game comes to mind because you played pretty much even for 57 minutes. And there was a 3-minute span where I think it was 21-0 in their favor at the end of the second quarter. Will you be reminding the team of that, or is that something where you kind of let it lie, let it stand as its own thing?
I was going to let it go, but you just brought it up. It's like one of those things, like you really, you really just want to put it to rest. You go back and you figure out the things that you did, in that short period to kind of allow them to get, take that lead in that game. And, it's critical errors that we made, and it goes back to what we talked about before. We don't turn the ball over. We turned it over on the kicking game. We turned it over offensively. And then just don't give up big plays. We gave a big play to the tight end. So, that 3-minute span was accumulation of the things that we're talking about that we have to do to be successful. It just happened that they all come within 3 minutes of the game at that point in time. We just have to make sure we play a solid 60-minute football game.
A win's great, big win's even better, but how important is it for your group to be able to utilize that depth chart and see some of the guys that are, second or third on that depth chart get opportunities on the field and excel when they get their chances?
I think that's the biggest thing you see bring a smile to my face today is just, man, like as a player, you work so hard to have an opportunity to play. And so, to be able to see those guys get on the field and the other guys on the team rally around them, this is a group of guys that's been really super supportive of one another. And just to be able to kind of have that moment to where, you can see that and they can share that together, I think is a big plus for the program.
How has the program changed over the last calendar year? Last year, obviously, a very difficult year, but this year feels like things are really progressing, moving forward, people are growing. How has it changed the most?
I think when you struggle, you do one of two things. You separate or you find a way to come together. And the group of guys that are here are the guys that decided they want to come together and they want to grow and develop. And even though there have been some struggles along the road, like throughout this season, these guys continue to choose one another, over what the struggle is. And so we have to continue to do that to grow and develop as a football program. And I think eventually, like you're still talking about working with a young football team. I'd say most of these guys are probably sophomores, on the field. And so, over a period of time, man, if these guys continue to stay on track and do what they're doing, don't let distractions get in their way, and they have a chance to be a special group.
Yeah, we're talking about one of those young guys. Frank Lee started his career as a basketball player, transferred here. What's the key to tapping into his full potential, not just this year, but in the future?
I think his success this past week is just kind of a testament to what he can be. I think you have to be able to learn how to have failure, success, and just grow in both of them. And he had some struggles throughout his career here just because he hadn't played a whole lot of football. But the most impressive thing for me was to go hear his interview after the game Saturday, just the maturity that he shows in communicating, and that's what's going to help him develop into being the type football player that he desires to be.
On the other side of the ball, at running back, you do have a very youthful group, but it's a very deep group overall. A lot of guys have contributed at one point in time this season. What's it like to see the growth of that room over these first couple months?
They're probably the ones that you see the most, and it's probably just because Coach Weaver's office is right across the hall from mine, and they're in his office all the time. They come there, they do study hall, and so they're doing this experience together, and watching them be able to go out and play together. I'm gonna mix them up. TC last week being able to kind of carry the bulk of the load, with Tyree being out and some of the other guys being out. And then still just to watch TJ King, he's a guy, I'm just being honest, on film right now. They kicked the ball to him last year, on kickoff return. But then this year, just to be able to develop confidence in him when he's in the game, that regardless of the situation, that he's going to have the potential to perform, and that's what coaching to me is about, and that's what you really want to see. That's what we talked to them 2 weeks ago about from coaches, we always talk about when the light comes on, that's the moment that you look for in coaching, and it's really starting to flicker for some of these guys.
Talking about that light coming on, well, Christian Irwin's had kind of an up and down career, really good start to his career, then I think he said he was 4 for 12 that second year, doesn't get the job this year, and then comes out, boots 3 field goals, very confident. How much does his development and his story kind of resonate throughout the entire locker room?
I think it's all of us, because that's why we say these guys are sophomores. But and that's where we say it feels like they've been here a long time because of the COVID thing. But that's another thing I think that we experience is during the COVID year, everyone else was playing with fifth-year seniors and we were playing with first-year freshmen. And so those freshmen, Christian has been through all of that, but he's still just a sophomore on the field. And so he basically struggled his freshman year as a kicker, and if you start as a freshman, you can pretty much expect kids to struggle as freshmen, and that's the situation that we were forced to put him in. But just to kind of see, over this year, to be able, he's been the kickoff guy, and, to get interjected into the game, to kick field goals and find that consistency. Same thing, go watch his interview and you see how humble he is about it, because the thing that we've learned is success is not guaranteed. It's something that we have to truly go and work for.
Defensively, Mars Hill, second best run defense in the SAC, top 10 in the country in guarding against the rush. What do they do that leads to a successful run defense?
They run. They run. Their linebackers are really good. They do a good job of filling. It's funny because, you talk about maturity of our kids, and that's just a couple of our kids came on, Coach, they do a good job. Those guys are really good. And so, for us to be able to identify that, see that, and know that we need to take our best game to the game on Saturday, they do a good job. They run to the football well.
Thank you.